All right, guys, I realized y'all have never seen our farm or our garden. So today, I'm gonna take you on the first tour ever of our garden.
It's out there just waiting on you and me. So look alive, 'cause while I was waiting for you, paradise is on the other side of the road. We don't know, taking a long way. You and I were born to
Sarah here at Tiny Shed Life. Hoffman and I were working in the garden the other day and we realized we really hadn't shared anything outside of our home. Y'all have seen clips of the garden stuff we've been doing, but you don't know everything we're growing, where things are located, and kind of what our big plans are. So be sure to stick around to the end because I'm already planning the fall garden. I've ordered like $75 worth of seeds, which I know doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it is a lot of seeds. It's gonna feed a lot of us. But for now, let's take a look at our spring summer garden and what we have. All right, so the beginning of the year was super crazy for me. We made some big changes here and I don't know, I just was really overwhelmed with life and I did not plan a huge garden. And the things I did plan to plant, y'all, they didn't grow. No seeds sprouted. I just felt like the whole thing was kind of a failure, but I did plant some stuff and it turned out great. It's gonna feed us. So let's take a look. We have the whole thing fenced in with like this 8-foot tall wire, and that's been keeping everything out. This was probably year 2 or 3 that we put this garden in. We started with just some cinder blocks, and the very first year it was totally beginner. Everything pretty much died or the chickens got to the tomatoes, but it was all about learning. So now we're 5 years in and we are so much better and we're doing regenerative agriculture and practices. And so I'm really proud of everything that we have. The first thing I planted, besides the seeds that did not sprout, were our squash behind me here. Let me come over this way. The sun is really beating down. It's like 93, feels like 103 here in Texas, just miserable. But so the first thing we planted are the squash. I really only planted these because nothing else was sprouting and the kids were so eager to do something, and really squash in Texas is one of the easiest things to grow. And I had some extra spaghetti squash, so I told the kids, hey, let's just go plant those. They are coming in like crazy. I have a big one that is almost ready to harvest. It just needs to get a little bit more yellow. And I'm also gonna be looking for it to start browning up here a little bit more. I've been cutting these guys back and they just keep growing. They are reaching on top of the trellis here behind me. We are starting to get some of that powdery mildew. We've had a lot of rain and I think that might be why I've only been doing it for 5 years. So I think it's constantly something new. This whole trellis thing here is my favorite. I planted some zucchini too, and now as it's gotten hotter, I'm cutting these things back constantly to give them more airflow, but they're not doing very well. I think I overplanted them and give them enough space. Again, another lesson learned. This is my first time to ever plant zucchini out here, but I think at the end of today or tomorrow, I'm probably gonna come rip half these plants out and give them some more space and see how they grow. I think this raised bed is just so beautiful. We sourced it from an old barn we have, and we put some large like tree limbs and things at the bottom, some wood chips. We filled it in with some dirt and compost, and it's just anything I plant in here, it has always thrived. We've been rotating things, and so previously we've had cucumbers over here, but this year we've moved them to this side. And Eloise loves to eat cucumbers. It's a great snack. We love canning them. So Hoffman is going to help her learn how to do that. They are coming in really nice. I think they have a couple. We picked some. They eat them with their sandwiches and whatnot. It's just, I don't know, it's really easy to grow here and it's a winner. If we come over here, we have some more cucumbers. This is Axel's garden area. He did all of this work by himself. We did not ask him, we did not tell him, but he went and got some fencing for them to grow up. He did some compost and wood chips at the bottom, and You know, he planted it himself. Let me see if I can find this. See this little guy growing? So we picked them this morning and he's been eating them. Let me see. Here's a really great one. Look at that. It's just an easy plant. It's so beautiful. And these will be really good for pickling. And we'll eat those with our burgers or whatever. All right, have you heard the buzzing sound? We have had gophers or moles come in and terrorize our garden. And honestly, I think this has probably been the most stressful year I've gardened. It's been failure after failure, almost as bad as the first year, but at least the first year I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Now I feel like I should know what I'm doing, but all the things have just kind of, I don't know, just everything. I had a huge garden. I'll show you. Look at that greenhouse. It's blown away since this video, but look at all the plants I had seeded and everything growing. It was wonderful and it was just so natural. I have no idea why nothing sprouted this year. All right, so back to the gopher problem. If you notice how much is missing over here, there was literally something coming and ripping up the plants, and it just was hacking the roots off at the bottom, and I would come out to dead plants. They're looking rough. I've had them in for a while, but I think it was just really hard to stick with these guys while the gopher or mole was taking over. So my plan was to succession plant like a year's worth of green beans. And so I planted these first two rows out. Then the gopher came in, took it out, and I kind of got nervous about planting like even all these rows in the very back. So I only ended up doing 2 weeks after planting the first set, planting these next two. Since installing those beepers, which is linked at the bottom to our Amazon affiliate if you want to grab some, they really have done a lot better. And I think we probably got about 3 or 4 months worth of green beans in the freezer right now. Not as many as I wanted, but now I know I need to probably double this amount of planting, maybe triple even. It's just really beautiful. Since I decided not to plant out the rest of the green beans, we turned those rows into flowers. We have a little business and we go to market and we sell our chicken and our eggs in our chicken coops, but we just wanted more product to bring to the booth to make it more attractive and have more things to sell. So we've decided to do some cut flowers. And this year we just planted some as a test to see how they do. You know, learn all those hard lessons before we invest a lot of money and space into them. And that's what we did here. So these are our zinnias. And I can't exactly remember what type they are. Hoffman, this is kind of his baby, so he probably knows them better than I do, but they have been really beautiful and doing great. The issue we had with these guys at the very beginning is that the grasshoppers, I don't know if you've seen them throughout the video, the grasshoppers are just tearing them up, eating holes and all the leaves to the point where they weren't sprouting, and that's where we did the netting. I'll put that video of us setting that up in the description below too. But see these grasshoppers? They're just everywhere and they just eat and tear up the plants. I feel like it's just been like a lot of like, another thing I did that didn't work, but that's just real life here. My aunt had given us some sunflower seeds, so we planted those out, and the caterpillars at the beginning of the year took out most of them. Hoffman took that tool that we use to protect the flowers from the grasshoppers and caged just one of our sunflowers up, and it's finally growing. And this may be the only one we get, but I'm really excited because we had planted a ton, and this guy and this little guy are the only two that have survived. To me, it doesn't seem like there is a lot in our garden because last year we had tomatoes and eggplants and peppers, cucumbers. I mean, we had a lot. The green beans, squash, and this year we just don't have as much, which kind of makes me sad, but I think my soul just needed the break. I'm gonna take you to a couple of other things I planted for the spring, but I also want to show you what we've been adding, and we're getting ready for fall. All right, so just outside this fencing, so here's the garden behind me. Just outside this fencing is 4 more rows we added about a year ago. We brought in compost. So everything here, the land has no nutrients, but we brought in some compost and we did these 4 rows, and then we wood chipped them to protect them. And I had 3 pepper plants out of like planting 100 seeds actually grow, and I transplanted them. A gopher took the one I planted here, and I think he disturbed the roots of this guy and it's died, but I left it so y'all could see my failures. That's how you learn, right? And then this one guy, my tag is gone. I think it's a yellow bell pepper, or it's casein, had a jalapeno plant. We saved some seeds from it, and I think this might be it. And it's getting really big. I have been picking off the flowers. Let me see if I can get it here. I have been picking off the flowers so it will encourage the roots to grow and let the plant get a little taller. And I think once it reaches like this spring, I'll stop doing that and let them go to fruit. I had planted seeds all the way down this row, pepper seeds, and nothing grew. So that was frustrating. I probably didn't water them enough. Even the ones I started in little pots, you know, like inside on my grow lights, didn't sprout either. I had the heating mat. I tried it without the heating mat. I tried all kinds of things. Literally nothing was growing. It's just, ugh. But I don't know. I'm gonna try again next year and it'll be okay. We did have this spring, we did like in May, pull up the garlic. We did a video on that, you know, start to finish. And we did have some garlic in these 2 rows. So that was nice. And it tastes fantastic. It cured great. The previous time we did the garlic, it was awful. So I feel like I've learned I can do that again next year and reproduce it. And I don't know, it was just, you know, when something grows, you just get really excited. And you're like, do I know what I'm doing, or was that a fluke? Okay. So away from that, we're adding this massive garden. It's taken us a lot of time, literally starting it all from scratch. Okay, I'm coming over the fence. We have, let me see if I can turn this way. Right. So here's all the new rows we've been adding. They are going to be compost, a little bit of compost, and all wood chips. And what we're doing is we're getting them ready for fall or spring next year. And they're gonna sit there for a while. We're gonna keep them wet, which is gonna encourage, you know, the microbiome, or whatever, the biodiversity of the soil to improve. And we're gonna have some really good beds, hopefully. At the end of May, the kids and I planted some sweet potato slips. It was just over 100 slips, and they've been in the ground for about a month now, and they are, you know, vining out and growing so good. I think we're gonna get somewhere between 400 to 600 pounds of sweet potatoes. We will, you know, cure those and eat them, and then we'll save some for next year's planting and have our own slips instead of buying them. At least that's the goal. And if we have any extra, I would really love to sell them at the market as well, on Facebook, from our website. Just kind of cover our cost of growing them. As you can tell, we have this big tree here. I did notice, see how these are not as big as the ones getting all that sun? I will write that down in our notebook, just, you know, where I plant stuff and what happened. You know, there's the bottom end of the bed didn't get as much sun, they didn't grow as well. And next year, obviously we won't plant them here again, but I'll just have to keep that in mind when I'm looking for counts and how much food we're gonna have. Now, sweet potatoes, deer love them, and this little field right here behind me, a lot of deer bed down here, and they always hang out on this side of the fence by us, and I was worried they were going to like chew up the sweet potatoes, so we did add this goat netting from Premier One. Obviously the deer can jump over it, but I think just kind of having that barrier there, or if they try to jump over it, they get hit this black mat. It's just kind of an awkward fenced in area. Maybe their legs will hit it and that will like shock them. It'll keep them away from this area. It's been a month and we've had no issues with them getting in at all. No footprints, nothing like that. So I think it's working. And since our goats ran away, we might as well put the fencing to good use. Let's see, where else can we go? All right, I'm gonna take you to the other side of our 10 acres and show you some more beds that we're putting in. All right, so just for reference, that's like up front, that's our private driveway. And we're gonna put beds all the way across here eventually. I might have to take out a tree. We're trying to decide if we want to do that or not. And then back here are those 4 beds we added about a year ago. And then there's the main garden. I assume one day we're gonna want to fence, like high fence like that, everything in, but I kind of just want to know how big we're gonna get before we start adding fences. We don't have a tractor to do anything. We do have a Ranger, which has been really helpful, but we don't have a tractor, so everything's like shovel, wheelbarrow, Ranger, by hand, mowing with the riding lawnmower. But this is not an expense we can take on. Everything we've done has been, you know, cash. We're not taking out any loans. And that's our goal, is not to be in any debt from these projects and just to grow as we grow. And it's worked out so far. So we made it to the other side. Again, there's the private driveway, or the private road that leads to our driveway here. And Hoffman is adding, I think they're just shy of 100 feet. They might be 100 feet. I have not measured them. But we have 3 rows going, and he mows, and we're just gonna keep moving these beds until we meet the other ones. I don't know what we'll put in here this year, but at least we'll have them ready. It's really about getting ahead and getting the beds ready. Things that we're struggling with is the grass. We put cardboard down and the grass just comes right through that cardboard even. This is pretty thick. It's probably 6 inches of wood chips on top of cardboard. It's just a monster out here. This whole place is raw land. It didn't have water. We had a well drilled. It did have electricity, but the entire place, the grass, let's see, we've been mowing, so let me see if I can find a place. Had grass, you know, thick like this. And I mean, even taller. You saw that field behind me by the sweet potatoes. People hadn't been out here in like years, decades, I think even. We had to start from scratch. We had a little dinky riding lawnmower that we started around that oak tree in front of our house. And we just did circle passes and circle passes. And that was 10 years ago that we bought this. So it's been a journey, but I love it. I cannot wait for it to grow more. I can't wait to have this huge fall garden. And then 2025 spring summer garden is gonna be massive as well. I'm gonna find my energy and I'm gonna do it. I really hope you like that garden tour. I know it wasn't anything massive or, you know, super exciting, but this is real life. You know, we have 5 kids, we homeschool, we work, we have our business that we're running, the YouTube channel, and it's just a lot of learning. We didn't grow up farming like this, and I'm learning so much. I hope you subscribe and see how things go and watch us grow. But I'm hoping that maybe we could do like a full, like whole farm tour, not just the garden, and keep you guys updated on what we're doing and, you know, new projects. But be sure to subscribe. I appreciate you watching, and we will see you next week. Blah, 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 blah.